multiverse breathed with life and death. Countless realms spun like sacred runes across the tapestry of Yggdrasil. In one corner, the world tree's roots reached into the void of non-existence. In another, its branches kissed the stars of galaxies unborn. But even within this divine architecture, something ancient stirred, a power too massive to be ignored. At the heart of the 9 realms, Thor Odinson stood changed. Not the brash god of thunder who once thirsted for glory, nor the brooding king who bore the burdens of Asgard. This was Rune King Thor, a being who had sacrificed his very mortality, hanged himself on Yggdrasil for 9 days, and peered into the well of Mimir to learn the forbidden truths of creation. In doing so, he transcended the cycle of gods. He was no longer just the storm. He was prophecy fulfilled, magic incarnate, wisdom made flesh. He had undone Ragnarok not by fleeing it, but by absorbing it. Time bent around him. Death hesitated before him. Even the Norns, weavers of fate, dared not bind his thread. Yet, in the distant folds of the multiverse, beyond the ken of gods or celestials, another force had awakened, Trion Juggernaut. The full power of Cyttorak's avatar, not the shackled version Earth's heroes had encountered. In this reality, Cain Marco hadn't just touched the gem of Cyttorak, he merged with it completely. There were no restraints, no mortal limitations, no inhibitors. His mind was a cosmic conduit, and his body an indestructible engine of pure crimson energy. The Trion dimension fed him ceaselessly, his very steps cracking dimensional membranes. He was not unstoppable. He was unchallengeable. Reality bent under his weight, and when he walked, universes tilted on their axis. And now, for the first time, these two ascendant beings were destined to collide, not by accident, but by design. The seeds of war were sown in silence. A rippled tremor crossed the cosmic axis, subtle but vast. Ancient watchers felt it in their bones. Watu lifted his head from the moon. The living tribunal blinked across realities. Eternity cast his gaze toward a realm he had once ignored. Something colossal was about to unfold. The whisper came from the heart of the tree. A force unbound walks where it should not. Thor stood upon the Bifrost's edge, his rune-glowing eyes scanning beyond space. The runes within him pulsed a warning, a disturbance in the Trion realm. He saw it clearly in the tapestry of fate. The Juggernaut, now fully evolved, was punching through dimensions not out of malice, but out of inevitability. With each stride, he consumed energy, destabilizing cosmic ley lines and unmaking the fabric of God's domains. He was not a destroyer. He was a force. Like gravity, like time, like Thor once was. But now, Thor had transcended godhood, and this threat, it could unravel the multiverse itself. In the plane of unreality, where thoughts become landscapes, the All-Father convened a gathering of cosmic arbiters, Zuras of the Eternals, Odin's echo from the void, and the last whisper of the Celestials. All agreed, if Trion Juggernaut crossed into the heart plane, the realm between realms, all known realities would collapse into a singularity of crimson power. Thor, clad in the sacred runes that danced around his cape like intelligent flames, stepped forward. I will go. I who have mastered fate. I who defied death. I who carry the weight of past, present, and future. If the Juggernaut walks the path of annihilation, then let the god who rewrote Ragnarok meet him there. Odin's echo tried to dissuade him. You are no longer what you were, my son. You have risen beyond pantheon and prophecy. Engage not with that which is infinite. But Thor merely nodded. Then let infinity meet wisdom. The dimension in which the Juggernaut marched was collapsing, folding in on itself like parchment tossed into flame. Entire worlds disintegrated under his presence, not by will, but because they could not contain him. But then, a halt. Across the event horizon of a dying realm, a figure stepped into the fold. Thunder rumbled where there was no sky. Runes glowed with intent. Space held its breath. Rune King Thor had arrived. Time didn't pass between them. It simply paused. Juggernaut turned, his entire form surrounded by swirling energies from Cyttorak's primal plane. A helmet no longer concealed his face. It was now his face. Red lines pulsed through his body like lava. He did not speak. He did not threaten. He merely was. But Thor spoke for them both. Trion Juggernaut, you march with purpose, but that path ends here. Juggernaut's presence grew. Planets nearby imploded from the gravity of his power. Yet Thor stood unmoved. His hammer, Mjolnir, was gone, absorbed into the runes. He no longer needed it. His power was symphonic, his will omnidirectional. The Juggernaut's silence echoed. Then a fist tightened, a move that signaled 1,000 falling universes. He took a step forward, and Thor? He raised his hand and, with it, invoked the secret runes of binding, summoning the wisdom of cosmic order. Not to strike, but to understand. But there would be no negotiation. Juggernaut's punch collapsed light itself. The clash was now inevitable. The cosmos watched and held its breath. They didn't speak. There were no war cries, no taunts. The moment was too colossal for words. Trion Juggernaut moved first. He surged like a collapsing singularity, his punch a red blur of mass and dimensional energy. The blow carried the weight of entire realities behind it. Fists that had shattered timelines, shoulders that had ruptured time loops. A single strike from him had once turned a micro-universe into cosmic dust. Thor met it head-on. The runes flared, symbols ancient as existence itself ignited along his body, orbiting him like solar glyphs. His palm intercepted the cosmic punch, and space itself screamed. The shockwave tore through the realm, flattening comets, rupturing god constructs, and bending existence into wild, flaring ribbons of energy. But Thor held. His eyes burned with the fire of foresight. He saw every possible punch Juggernaut could throw before it happened. The runes whispered the outcomes of 10 million futures, and in 9 million, he died. But in one, he won. Juggernaut didn't hesitate. He lifted both fists and brought them down like twin meteors. Thor blurred upward, leaving behind a trail of glowing language, striking back with a storm fist amplified by cosmic thought. Lightning fused with destiny. He struck Juggernaut in the jaw, and the force sent a Nova-level shockwave through the collapsing plane. But Juggernaut laughed, unmoved, uninjured. He lunged, catching Thor midair and hurling him across a molten ridge of reality. Thor's form cracked a dimension wall. Spirits of extinct gods wailed in the split fabric of space. Yet Thor rose, hovering in the air, robes tattered but glowing with truth. He wasn't fighting with strength. He was fighting with understanding. The rune of disintegration spun in his palm. He hurled it, an ancient glyph that had once unmade Surtur's flame heart. It hit Juggernaut square in the chest and did nothing. The Trion power was beyond decay. Juggernaut slammed the ground. A rupture tore through all known laws of physics. The dimension shattered entirely, and yet the two remained suspended in a void, mid-battle, still locked in a gravitational deadlock of power versus perception. Then Thor closed his eyes. He stopped fighting. Not out of defeat, but because the runes showed him what was hidden. With a deep breath, he whispered 3 forbidden syllables, the runes of extraction. They were not weapons, they were keys. Keys that unlocked the source of Juggernaut's power. Behind Trion Juggernaut's eyes, a flicker, brief but real. Something ancient stirred. The gem of Cyttorak flinched. And that was all Thor needed. He stretched both hands, forming a circle of runes midair. Symbols of balance, disruption, revelation. They circled faster, faster, until they carved into the very concept of Juggernaut's invincibility. The air boomed, the gem screamed, and for the first time since his ascension, Trion Juggernaut staggered. Thor wasted no moment. Channeling the full might of Odin Force, rune magic, and the will of the World Tree, he summoned a final incantation. Sundar Yarta, the rune of heart sundering. Not to kill Juggernaut, but to sever him from Cyttorak. The rune struck, time split, and the red glow of Juggernaut's form vanished. Cain Marco, now mortal, collapsed from the air, caught gently by Thor's hand. The god looked down with respect. You were never meant to carry the weight of infinity, warrior. Rest now. Thor turned, floating away, runes dimming. Behind him, the void stitched itself slowly, healing from their clash. He had won, not by overpowering Juggernaut, but by outsmarting him. Rune King Thor stood victorious, and the multiverse once again exhaled,